Yellow buddies, it's Friday, October 11th, 22 degrees Celsius, local time 9:15 p.m. at Bangalore, and it's time to talk bone chilling protagonist. So it's a time for another podcast. Let me bring you the agenda. This time I brought the agenda properly. So we have a guest speaker who's hitting a hat trick today, and then we'll straight away jump into the topic of movies and art forms. So we have different art forms in movies, and what art form today we are going to talk about, and the story, poignant and high stakes for the characters in the story in a movie, and coming to the main topic, bone chilling protagonist. Some of the Odyssey, popular, famous, legendary characters ever created in movies, and coming to the topic of podcast and the movie, favorite action movie of our guest speaker, and then we'll have a breeze, fun activities. So as usual, we'll get it started by the podcast intro. Let me play it. Cool. Yes. You are listening to MW Podcast. I'm MaddiE DawsoN. This is another episode of movies, and the guest speaker who's hitting hat trick today is none other than Sharmila. So I don't have to give you introduction, and she also doesn't have to give an introduction to us because she's already done 2 episodes. Speak No Evil, Stree, and now for another podcast. So let me give it to her. Sharmila, please take the stage. How does it feel to get a hat trick here?
Hi, Maddie. Good evening. It feels great, and thank you for accommodating the third episode at such a short notice. And this topic that we will be discussing today, how to create a bone chilling protagonist, is something I found very interesting. And when I was doing a deep dive, so and I was eager to talk about it, so thank you for accommodating this at a very short notice.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't wait. So I think when I read the message, I read the bone chilling protagonist first, and I was like, okay, it's gonna be some other movie. But then when I saw the movie that she wanted to talk about, I was like so excited. I didn't tell you why I was excited or like why I was surprised, because it's one of my favorite movies too. So we will cover the movie later, but let's go by the agenda. So the first topic is art forms, right? So let me explain what is art form. So we have movies, and we have different genres, like drama. Drama is more of emotional, exploring character depth and their incidents and events in life, and then thriller, basically an entertaining genre, like basically you're targeting the audience to keep them hooked, right? So till the end. And then suspense, so trying to build some mystery and create a suspense so that the audience are really invested in the movie. So there are so many genres, and one of them is action. So art form is nothing but staying true to the genre. Like if it's a blend of different genre, make sure you employ uh, what do you say, the right art form in it. Let's say we are talking about a martial arts movie, so it's an action genre. So what kind of martial arts are employed? So let's say kung fu. Then has the movie stayed true to its art form? Like martial art has been employed and used well in the movie, or it's just for the, what do you say, showcase? They just had one or two scenes like about the martial arts, and the whole movie was about something else. So how they have used the art form. So have I made it clear to you, Shamila, or should I explain more?
No, Maddie, I think it's pretty clear.
Okay.
uh, and yes, I think the genre that we are talking about, or that we will be talking about today, is the action genre. And I think that many movies that fit into this categories, uh, they do justice to it. Most of the movies, especially the movies surrounding martial arts, like Never Back Down, Southpaw. Although it's a story within a story concept here also,
Hmm.
but the central theme is how the hero's journey, what is the hero's journey to salvation through
Mm.
martial arts. And me being a martial arts practitioner myself, um, sorry about that. Me
Yeah.
being a arts practitioner myself, I know that like when you do any form, or when you learn any form of martial arts, be it jiu-jitsu, be it wrestling, be it ninjutsu, at the end of the day, yes, physically you are it's demanding and you get drained after one session, but it mentally it gives you peace, and it actually calms your mind and helps you think very clearly. So movies that actually employ martial arts to the core, especially the ancient Chinese movies, or the movies, the movies which had come out in, I think, 1980s, 1970s, 1980s. uh, Jackie Chan movies, but not the American ones, the Chinese ones. They are pretty true to uh, what an action genre is.
Yeah.
And in recent times, Never Back Down is one very good example.
Yeah.
Of course, the story is quite modern,
Mm.
but they have remained true to the core. Like, what is the fighting styles? It's actually a discipline. Like any, you take any discipline, art, science, commerce, or you take like any subject. It's similar. The study, you have to study it, you have to practice it. So it's similar to that, and most modern movies also have done justice to it.
Yeah, so I wanted to give one good case study here. The James Bond films, so it's more than 50 years now, and the art form, or the form that they have, is spy, basically spy thriller, and with subgenres like action, romance, all those things. But I think one of the reasons James Bond has lasted like more than 5 decades is because of this captivating spy genre, and how true they have. What do you say, stayed to that form. So they have adapted, so they know that the character or the actor who's playing the character has some age limit, and they have to be like, transition. So every 20 years they have to see a new Bond, a new character in the Bond character. So no new actor in the character Bond. So uh talking about martial arts now. So you mentioned Jackie Chan. So I would like to say that Jackie Chan created a new art form, not just action, right? So he brought in action comedy. So that's why he was so
Yes.
popular, and he's world popular. Like even now, people know him. So, uh,
Yes, yes,
so yeah, continue.
yes, yes, and not only Jackie Chan's movie. There are a lot of other movies also. The very well done martial arts movie. I mean, one of the best martial arts movies that I have watched till now is this movie called Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So yeah, so you have to watch the movie to understand what I'm talking about. It's a 24-year-old movie. It was released, the first part was released in 2000, and they have shown the fight style in a very elegant way. It's almost like choreography, right?
Hmm.
And it's again, it's uh, just one second. There's some
It's
seems.
a
It's
2000
a, it's a
movie. Yeah.
yes. So it's a Chinese movie, but it's dubbed in a lot of languages. English being one of them.
Mm.
There has been a sequel to it, but the sequel is not as interesting as the original one. So that is beautifully shot, beautifully. The story is beautifully told. Of course, they also have a love story there, but again, the core of it is the fighting style or the action. So the story is told via choreographed fight sequences. which is very elegant to watch.
Okay.
Uh, so yes, so I think more than the when it comes to a action oriented or martial arts movie and an action movie maybe there might be a minute difference also. But when it comes to martial arts movie, I think Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is one such movie that everyone should watch.
Okay.
And coming to James Bond and action movies, yes, it's the narrative also. Uh, James Bond is a very smart and a very tactical guy, very with an analytical bent of mind.
Hmm.
And every movie that you have watched, I think it has been established by the antagonist that how smart he is, or how not exactly feared, but how tactical he is, and they have to be careful uh, from him.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's where the mm, the uniqueness of James Bond comes from.
Yeah, they also it's a well-established protagonist, right? So the
Yeah.
directors or writers doesn't have that burden to establish character and then
Yes.
build up the protagonist. So it's like a
Yes. Yes.
50-year-old
Yes.
character.
In fact, the movie that we have picked, I mean, there are certain points that I like when I rewatched the first part. There are certain points that I noticed which was so nicely done.
Okay.
I mean, usually you'll see the opposite that happens,
Hmm.
but uh, they just flipped what is the norm, and it actually worked beautifully in their favor.
Yeah, so let me give a shout out here. We already have live viewers and one of my subscribers, Castella Daniel Cassia. Just seeing your comments. Thank you. John Wick is the puppy punisher. Nice. I don't know how you got the name. Good revenge film is Old Boy. I think I've seen Old Boy. Yeah, it's you're talking about John Wick, expressing about John Wick or Old Boy. There is another movie called Old Boy, so I got confused with that. Okay, please keep shouting and putting your comments. I'll do read in between. Okay, let's keep continuing. That was about art form, staying movies staying true its art form. So we remember Jackie Chan, James Bond, and especially Sharmila
Yes.
recollected 24 years old film Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That means they stood the movie makers stayed true to their art form, right? So I'll give a foreshadowing. So we know what you're gonna talk about, and the live stream viewers also knows what they are already told. So uh, Kung Fu is an art form from the Chinese. So GunFu is an
Kung Fu
art form
is-
from the Western. What do you say? Western world. So we'll be talking about the movie series that's related to GunFu. Okay, cool. Now the second topic was poignant and high stakes. So, poignant means basically emotional, like hitting you emotionally, basically making an impact in your mind. So, feeling for the character, empathy. So, that is poignant, the meaning of the word poignant. And high stakes is nothing but it's a technical term in writing as well as filmmaking, creating the motive and like a do or die stake, right? So if the protagonist or hero wants to do something, it's a huge thing for him. If he doesn't do that, he has lost everything, he'll lose everything. So if he does, it's like a huge achievement. If he doesn't do it, then it's a major setback and it's like a failure. So creating high stakes, so that's what we will talk about. So uh, your thoughts on emotional motives as well as high stakes motives in films, not just for the hero character, so any character in the movie. So we would have loved certain movies because the antagonist character, the villain character, would have been developed more than the hero character, and they would have had better motives and purpose than the protagonist. So tell us your opinions on the poignant and high stakes in movies.
okay. So can I can I bring uh, can I bring the case study into conversation now?
Yeah, I can't deny you. You are the guest speaker, so you put me put me in the hard spot. So yeah, I think people are waiting. So let's talk about John Wick.
So no, the reason why I asked about this, I requested to use this particular case study right now,
Okay.
is when you said it as you said it very correctly, that in certain movies the antagonist is the antagonist steals the limelight, be it Joker from Batman, or be it Bane from
Okay.
Batman, or be it Thanos, because they are created, they are created in such a manner, or their character is created in such a manner that it invokes or it demands that uh, attention, right?
Okay.
So uh, for John Wick, if you see the emotional compass and the high stakes, so if you see John Wick, like the opening of chapter 1,
Hmm.
he's a man who's retired, he's a man whose wife has passed away, and he is broken, he is vulnerable, he's broken, and
Hmm.
he's just trying to get his life back together, and he's anyways in a very fragile and emotional state, and that's why, okay, I'm really sorry, my dogs will start barking now.
We are talking about John Wick. Dogs have to bark.
Because my dog's friends are barking outside, so they will bark in some, like, in
They
some time
just
they might. Okay, so
they are having
coming
their
to,
own podcast, so don't worry about it.
yeah, so yeah, so he is someone who's lost everything emotionally, like the love of his life, everything. Like he's a broken man who's so vulnerable, and then he gets this puppy who is a semblance of hope, so you can't, the audience can't help but like that character,
Hmm.
right? Because he is a vulnerable character. He, like the opening scene, we see he getting out of the car. There you go,
Hmm.
apt background music. So yeah, so the sorry, I stand corrected, the opening scene is John Wick getting out of the car and he's bleeding, so that invokes a little bit of curiosity, and then we see his wife. He had an entire life with his wife and everything. We don't even know what his history is,
Hmm.
like, as a first time viewer. So that's the power of flipping, or that's the power of uh, creating a character, uh, and attaching emotions to that character. We love John Wick because we think that whatever he did was right at some level, right? That's why we love. Otherwise, there is no point in really loving the movie, right?
Ex-
Because we
Yeah.
Yeah, because we know that at some point we kind of think that, okay, whatever he did in this movie, yes, except the technical parts, except the one shot fights, etc., except those technical parts which are really really effortlessly done,
Hmm.
accepting that, as an audience who does not understand any technicalities like myself, we kind of feel that, oh, okay, fine, this man has been wronged by some people who just think that they have the power to just get inside any man's house and destroy whatever life he has left. They can't do it, so we kind of that feel that, okay, fine, whatever he did is, like in his, as per his point of view, is justifiable. That's why we like the movie, right? And I'm talking completely devoid of any technicalities. We'll come to the technicalities later. So when you talk about emotional, like when you talk about poignance and high stakes, I think an emotional stake, or creating that empathy from the, creating an empathy towards a character, towards a central character, is very important. Similarly, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, right? The first part, we liked that character, or we empathized with that character initially, because they showed that he's a man who's been tortured and who's been pushed to such an extent that he had no other choice but to lose his what do you say but to lose his senses and become a criminal, right? So we kind of empathize with the central character, and again, the emotional appeal plays an important role. I think that is the trump card in creating empathy uh, towards any character.
Yeah, so as you said, we had to talk about John Wick. So it strikes both and what do you say, both the emotion factor as well as the high stakes. So yeah, I think the first chapter is all about setting or establishing these two things, and then it takes on the art form. So because of this
Yes.
solid foundation, we had all the three chapters which followed it, and that we understand why we needed chapter one.
Yes, and what is really interesting about it is how they created, like, he's a protagonist, okay, and how they made the protagonist, or how they showcase this protagonist to be a terrifying, fear inducing, bone chilling protagonist, which is the beauty of the movie, right? So initially, he is a regular guy who is trying to, who's grieving, who's trying to get on with his life, gets a puppy, uh, goes on about his day, and then there is a then and then we are kind of slowly introduced into the world of organized crime. When the incident happens, the Vigo's son enters, steals his car, and kills his dog. So until then, we don't really know. We know that he is a guy who's a serious guy, who's a serious man. But until then, we don't know how terrifying he is. It There's a scene, I love that scene in chapter one, if you recollect. Vigo tells his son that it's not what you did uh, upsets me, it's who you did to, right?
Yeah.
It's That's a key scene. If you go back and rewatch, it's a key scene in establishing how terrifying the protagonist, aka John Wick, is. Like, he is a boogeyman. So, like, the son says, like, when he says that John Wick, also known as Baba Yaga, so the son is still not taking him seriously. Who the boogeyman? It's like, no, he's not the boogeyman. He is the one who you sent to kill the effing
Boogie.
boogeyman, right? And in parallel, you just see John Wick going down seven steps. That is the seven steps of hell, right?
Oh,
Like,
okay.
that's what you reference, like the seven steps of hell. While that scene is going on, that I saw him in the bar kill three men with an effing pencil. And so that scene, I think, is beautifully written because it establishes how terrifying that person is, right? So when I was researching, I was researching some references. So either the writers, mostly there are two ways to do it. Either have the protagonist talk how how fearful the antagonist is, like how Mark Ruffalo did when he was in talking to Iron Man about Thanos, right? In
Dialogue oriented.
Yeah, dialogue oriented in the uh, Infinity War,
Yeah.
right? So that's inducing fear. Or they do action, like action oriented, like how in Batman, Bane, like, this is the day when Bane will break Joker, and he actually broke his back,
Hmm.
right? So it's basically, you'll see that they are establishing how terrifying the antagonist is. The beauty of this movie John Wick is that through that scene, you're establishing that the protagonist is terrifying. They've just flipped it. You're seeing this,
Yeah.
they've just flipped the narrative, saying that, you know what, again, continuing, Baba Yaga, sorry, John Wick will come for you, and you will do nothing because you can do nothing.
You can't do
So
nothing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
will do nothing because you can't do nothing.
Okay.
That was his dialogue, that was Vigo's dialogue. So they are kind of flipping the entire thing where the antagonist is fearing the protagonist.
Okay.
And then there are some scenes where when he's talking, he goes to Continental, he goes inside the bar, he meets the manager of Continental New York, and then he's like, he goes to a bar and has a drink. The lady at the bar, who's the bartender, says that you're so vulnerable. Just in the next scene, he's like he's a machine killing people.
Hmm.
So it's like it's he's that good.
Okay.
He's that good, and he knows that I will give me your son or I will kill people.
Okay.
I'll keep killing your people. So he stopped because he wanted to stop, and he came back because uh, something very precious has been taken away from him.
Hmm.
So that's the beauty of it. Coming to the technical aspect, all his movies, all the four chapters, if you see from a fight standpoint or from an action sequence standpoint, are shot in one continuous shot. Okay, and it's very difficult to and all the fight sequence, if you see fights and gun sequence, fight sequence, everything that you see, it's done in a single take, and it's done in a single shot, and it's beautifully done. I mean, uh, there are certain moves that Keanu Reeves does in, like, it's a jiu-jitsu move. It's very difficult to do it, and imagine the hours and hours he trained for it. So doing that move itself is so difficult, but he does that move at the same time. The very next second, he's also shooting at people. You know, so that is the so it has both writing, which is completely innovative, creating fear in the, like, in the minds of the antagonist about the protagonist, which is completely new. I think that is why it worked. Second, that they did very intelligently, they did is they before creating like him, or before, before picturizing him or showcasing him as this, ruthless hitman who's like the best at his game, who's like the Baba Yaga, like the boogeyman. So creating before creating this personification, they actually humanized him. They actually told that, okay, whatever he's doing, he has been wrong, and that is why he's doing this. So that's why the audience loved John Wick, because somewhere we like, okay, nobody does that to a puppy. Nobody does that to a puppy. And like, if it was just the car, like, maybe people may have not uh, connected with the movie that much. But why did you do that to a puppy? Because a puppy is innocent, right?
Hmm.
So they very skillfully they did that, and they humanized the character, and then inserted this particular scene saying that, oh, we saw him kill three men in a car with a pencil. John Wick will come for you, and he is like Baba Yaga. And then they created this entire aura that this is a man who was very vulnerable and is very vulnerable, but you forced him to come out of his retirement. You forced the antagonist, forced him to come out of his retirement. Now John Wick will unleash himself on these people, and that is the entire movie all about. So that's what I really liked about the writing and the narration, and from an action sequence standpoint.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you covered both this bone-chilling protagonist and your favorite movie. So by now, everybody would know that John Wick is the favorite movie of Sharmila's. So also mine. So the first one, Keanu Reeves is one of the, what do you say, top most action stars you have right now in Hollywood, alongside
Mm,
Tom Cruise. So they
mm,
two are like, setting up a milestone which others can't clear.
Yes.
So obviously he has to do all the work, and he does even at this age. So that's why he's still doing such kind of films. And the next point is creating this bone chilling characters. Especially we're talking about how they flipped, what they had done to the antagonist in Christian
Normally,
Nolan
yeah.
movie. Yeah, yeah. So they just flipped it in John Wick. So since I am a filmmaker, I came across this techniques, right? So in establishing or creating a villain, so antagonist, that's what we call in technical term. So there are four ways. So a lot of movies you see, we don't see the antagonist, so they just build a mystery or fear surrounding the antagonist, and finally they'll reveal the face of the antagonist, then it hits you. So
Yes.
some of the examples are like Seven, and then Hannibal
Yes.
Lecter. Yeah, so I think I forgot the name of the movie. So one of the techniques is creating that fear just by other characters. So in John Wick, we do not know anything about John Wick. So you were recollecting the movie. I mean, recapitulating. So chapter one. Let's go back to chapter one. We see a flash forward, right? So we see John Wick get out of the car and he's hurt. We do not know what happened to him. What is this character? Who is this character? And then we cut to the present, and we see a guy who's living peacefully. We seem to see a guy who's peacefully, but he's grieving, and it just nothing is told. It just told through pictures, right? So he holds a picture, and we see his wife and a letter and this
Yes.
puppy. So we get that. So we kind of feel for the wife who's already dead, and we we feel very compassionate. Like his wife is so thoughtful that she left some life for his husband. So she knows that after she leaves, he's gonna suffer. So let me help him go through that suffering, and he
Yes.
gifted that puppy. So we kind of get that emotional stakes there, right? So there is no high stakes yet, but emotional stakes. We already get related to the protagonists, people who have dogs, people who have cats, people who do not have any pets. So everybody gets related to this character by now. So and then comes the inciting incidents where things happen to happen to the protagonist or the characters, and then things get moving in the films. So we kind of see heartbreaking incidents, and we feel wrong. Not only John Wick, but watching him going through that stuff is, it's like we feel it's wrong. He has to do something about it, or we'll do something about it. So that's where the high stakes come in, right? So now, all until this moment, we do not know anything about John Wick. Like, what is his profession? We just know that he looks a
Yes.
very intimidating guy, and we do not know anything about his profession, what he was like, from which occupation he retired. So we do not know anything. But when this guy who takes away the car and kills the puppy goes back to his home, I think Russia, right? So his father is talking to the
Yeah.
father. That
Ego.
bar scene is very, very critical because, as you said, through conversation, that is one technique. So dialogues, through
Yes.
dialogues, they expose the character of John Wick. And as you rightly pointed out, when that dialogue and conversation is going on, we switch scenes or shots where John Wick is taking up his previous profession. What is that profession? When he digs up completely, we see the guns, and that's where like a parallel the conversation going on. So we come to know that he's basically assassin, and there is this underworld, not
Yeah.
just the world that we see. So the
Yes.
underworld, dark
Yes.
world. So
Yes.
establishing the character through dialogues, and then that should be convincing. So they kind of, we know that if they had just done it in that bar alone, if the whole scene was just inside that bar, I would have, I think it would have not worked out. So they switched, as you
Yes.
said, the symbolism. I didn't know the symbolism, but when you said that when he was climbing down the stairs, 7 steps denoted the 7 steps of hell. So
Yeah.
along with this other scene, which is in America, and the other one is in Russia, so it really worked out. So when he's digging up with so much fierce anger, and the father is like, warning the son, like, what did you do? Why did you do this? You do not know anything about this
And
guy.
it's not that what you did upsets me. It's who you did to upsets
Yeah,
me.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I think that's where the writing, the chapter one is so good in writing, and the action kicked in only at the later half. So if we did not have the first 45 to 50 minutes, then I don't think the all the chapters would have come out,
Yes, of
right?
course. That's what they humanized the protagonist, because see, if they had told us about the Vigo's son, we wouldn't, we wouldn't have hated him. Maybe we wouldn't have hated him if we had gotten some background of Vigo's son, that why he did this. They just directly pictured, like they just directly showcase him. Okay, he's a spoiled brat who wants this car, who wants this, like he's just at any cost, and it just hit his ego that John Wick said no. So uh, we didn't see the humanization part of the son who killed the puppy, right? So we, like when he was actually shot dead, his last words were, it was just a effing, and the sentence was not even complete, and he was shot in the head. So we, like, at least I felt very good. He deserved what he did, because to me as an audience, uh, Vigo's son was not humanized, whereas John Wick was humanized. And it's not that John Wick is doing something like really great. He is killing like hundreds and hundreds of people, but we know what is the reason, and his reasons seem justified, seems human, right? Maybe what he is doing is ethically wrong, morally wrong, but it's reasonable to him. So we kind of empathize with him, right? And we, at towards the end, we develop a distaste for Vigo, because he, in order to save himself, he told John Wick, okay, either, John Wick said, either you die or give me your son. So he gave the location of his son, and he killed, like John Wick killed the son, and Vigo was responsible for, killing his own son. So we develop kind of a distaste or hatred towards Vigo towards the end.
Yeah.
So from this feared gangster in the beginning of the movie, his character was like chipped off, and towards the end, he became this very feared, scared criminal who was trying to run away.
Yeah, so it completely switched the expectations, right? So initially you just felt sad for the protagonist and you took side, but by the time the movie is ending, you feel that, oh, who is this guy? I want to know more about this guy.
Yeah.
And what is he capable? Okay, now let's discuss about the other core, crucial, critical aspect of John Wick chapters, which is nothing but action, combat, gunfu. So yeah, to give I believe most of the people who watch English and Hollywood movies would have watched John Wick. If not, let me brief it in this statement. So in Hollywood, there are two categories of action movies. One is uh, movies which have action, which have like known for action, like what do you say, Fast and Furious action, and then Tom Cruise style action. So these are one category movies, okay, all Hollywood action movies. And the other category is John Wick. So John Wick is a separate genre of action which they compare. Hollywood compares action movies with John Wick. So have we achieved John Wick stature or standards? So that's what we are talking about. John Wick is in a whole different league. So you can simply categorize the whole action movies into two categories. One is John Wick and others are others. So that's the kind of action we are talking about. And Shamila gave a foreshadowing that, in every chapter, we have four chapters so far. So in every chapter, there is a very elaborate and extensive camera movement, single camera movement, single shot I'm talking about, with martial art moves as well as gunfights and intimate fight scenes. So that's why we love John Wick. That's one of the reason we love. One of the reason is puppy, but the other reason is always going to be the action scenes that we. That's why we like fled the theaters, right? So why do you want to watch John Wick in theaters rather than in OTT or at your home? So the action scenes are the ones that make us, fled to the theaters. So first, tell us your raw emotions or opinions on this action, like used in John Wick chapters.
So, I did not watch the first three chapters. I did not watch it in the theater.
Okay.
I watched it on my system, and by that time, I was a fan. And then chapter four, when it released, I think last year it got released.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, last year it got released. So chapter four, I went and I watched because I kind of like guessed what would be the ending. So I wanted to be, I wanted to experience that entire movie in the theater because some of my favorite like action stars are there in the movie. Like, of course, Keanu Reeves, but apart from that, Donnie Yen,
Hmm.
then. Uh, uh, mm, what's his name? Donnie Yen, Bill Skarsgård, then Hiroyuki Sanada. They are like especially Mr. Sanada and Donnie Yen. They are like top level. Uh, so that chapter four, I watched it in the theaters, but the first three chapters I watched it on the system.
Same
Now
here.
coming
I'll
now
tell you a fun fact. So you continue. I'll tell you a fun fact later.
All right. So I think when I watched John Wick first chapter, I was taken away by it. I mean, I initially, yes, I thought it is the most unrealistic premise, but that time I did not have dogs. But now that I have dogs, I kind of understand. I kind of get that man's point, what he was trying to say, and I love that movie even more now that I have dogs. And what I feel, so after I watched the first chapter, I watched the first chapter multiple times. So after some nth watch, I kind of started reading up about that why it is so good. Why is the action sequence so good? And I think it's because of the director, who was also a stunt performer.
Yeah, he's from Matrix actually. He's associated with John Wick. I mean, Keanu from Matrix.
Yes, so he was a stunt double in the Matrix, and if you see Matrix also is known for
Action,
orchestrating or
action. Yeah.
choreographing traditional forms of martial arts,
Hmm.
uh, like be it karate. Okay,
Hmm.
yeah, I think it was only karate,
Hmm.
uh, and karate and no, sorry, not karate. I'm sorry, I stand corrected. The traditional martial arts that was used in Matrix was kung fu.
Okay.
So yeah, so both are different. Kung fu is Chinese and karate is Japanese.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, coming back to John Wick, I think the director was, I think, very kind of, he wanted to get that action sequence right, and I think it was his idea that all the takes had to be, all the action choreography had to be like one long sequence, no cuts or no ad cuts. And as I said earlier, it's like you can see the effort that everybody puts, because when you do that move, right, there's a lot of groundwork that the fighters, when they fight, right, you see, you pick up any John Wick movie and you pick up any fight sequence,
Hmm.
right, a lot of there's a lot of fights that happens on the ground. Like both the fighters are on the ground and they are kind of fighting while on the floor.
Hmm.
So all most of those moves are jiu-jitsu moves, and trust me,
Hmm.
after that one move you cannot, like, you need some time to get up and again fight on, like, fight standing up. But after doing that move, the people are back to, back to shooting other people. That is something that I really really admire. You don't see that, even if you see any high class, at least Hollywood high class action sequence movie, you pick up any modern action movie in Hollywood, there will be some of the other cuts.
Yeah, a lot of cuts.
There'll be some of the other cuts. Like even if the fight is really good, there will be at least one cut in between. But in Japanese, older Japanese movie, you see there is a lot of sword fighting. People fight with swords. People fight with katanas. So there's a lot of sword fighting, and that's a one that always has been a one shot, or what do you call, one take or one shot sequence. Same with the Chinese, ancient Chinese or martial arts movies, or Chinese movies that showcase martial arts being taught in ancient China, right? So a lot of that is there in the Japanese and the Chinese movies. But John Wick was one such movie that was like a breath of fresh air with regards to the action sequences. It's like it just shows how much effort they have put in. And I think I think in chapter 2 or chapter 3, when they were fighting, you can see a jerk in the camera also, but they kept rolling. They didn't stop, they didn't cut, and they kept it in the movie
Hmm.
just to make it more, make it seem more realistic. And it's not just a gun that they fight with, they fight with knives. So knife fighting is a part of ninjutsu, it's a part of kung fu. They fight with knives, they fight with swords, which is a so I think in the fourth chapter, when the entire long fight sequence happened in Osaka Continental, it was a mix of jiu-jitsu, it was a mix of sword fighting, where the manager of the Osaka Continental, he was fighting using his katana. So I think Sanada. I mean, Hiroyuki Sanada. He is like, he's known for his sword fighting. Like he is a great actor
Hmm.
in the Asian movies, and he's known for his sword fights. Like he's like, to see him on the screen, and him. So he's a huge star in what do you say? He's a huge he's huge among Japanese audience.
Yeah,
And then
it's popular.
Don,
Yeah.
yeah, and Donnie Yen is huge among um, the Chinese audience. You can say that Donnie Yen is like so his stardom is somewhat similar to what Akshay Kumar's stardom is
Okay.
right now. So he is maybe more, but he is huge in China. So imagine, so Donnie Yen is a kickboxer. Okay, he's a kickboxer, and he is a uh, what do you call, kickboxer, kung fu. He's a martial artist, mixed martial artist. Okay, and his main thing was his main fight style is kickboxing, and there is something called as Wing Chun, and kung fu, of course. And Hiroyuki Sanada's, like, he's known, that person is known for sword fighting. He's known. So imagine the two of them fighting each other using their own styles, and that is being shot in one single take. It's a treat to someone who knows, like, who studied fight forms or who studied movies. So I'm smiling. I mean, my camera is off, but I can just, like, I'm so excited just to recollect that entire fight sequence.
Okay. Yeah,
So
yeah. The talking about the single shots that you're mentioning, so it's difficult in multi aspects, right? So one is the camera, the technical coverage, right?
yes,
How they're gonna
yes,
cover the sequence, and then the sequence itself, how they're gonna sequence the choreography. So it's not just martial arts. So there is a mix of martial arts, and then you mentioned weapons as well. So we forgot one of the main weapons. So there is a group of audience within the John Wick world who just come to witness John Wick use the
yes,
gun, and reload it. So gun, right? So
I
there.
didn't know that was an improv by Keanu Reeves in the first chapter. I didn't know that. I recently came when I was researching on this topic, how to create a terrifying protagonist. I was
Okay.
reading up on it. So then I came to know that he, like John Wick, he when he was Keanu Reeves, when he was researching for this particular role, he just came across this, and that was an improvisation that he did, and it became so good that they kept it. It became his signature style.
Yeah, it's true, right? So I have seen and heard people talk about this thing. Like they want to see John Wick reload, so it's a must, right? So reload the gun. So we are talking about multi weapons and the choreography of stunts, and in chapter four, it's popular faces, popular actors. And imagine when you're popular, your time is so precious, and to do a stunt which is like single shot, managing with all these popular actors. So
Mm.
it's so difficult to achieve, and they kind of not only satisfy our expectation but also exceed what we want, right? So I remember the same case. The fun fact is, I remember watching John Wick 5 6 years before. It was just a normal. I don't know about Keanu Reeves. I just looked up an action movie. Okay, they said John Wick had good ratings, and I started watching it. So the moment the puppy was killed, I was so sad and angry that I stopped watching the movie. I was so soft hearted, and I'm still a soft hearted person, so I couldn't watch it beyond that part. So I was like, no, this film is traumatizing me at the very beginning. Why should I watch it further? So
In
I,
fact, in,
yeah.
sorry to cut you. In
Mhm.
fact, the what makes it even more heartening, like disheartening, is that they hurt the puppy, okay, and they injured John Wick. But when John Wick opens his eye, the puppy was in the other part of the room, right,
Okay.
where the incident happened.
Hmm.
So what made it even more people even more enraged, or even more empathetic towards John Wick, is the scene where it's a very minute scene. I watched it so many times and then I realized it.
Hmm.
So when John Wick comes, regains his consciousness, the puppy is close to him. So basically the puppy dragged herself near John Wick. Like, that's why there was blood throughout the floor. It was the puppy's blood, it was not John Wick's blood. Okay, because John Wick was, like, he was hit at one corner and he did not move from that one corner. The puppy was hit at the other corner, and we see the puppy moving. So the blood that John Wick actually cleans off the floor, that is the puppy's blood. Because the
Uh,
puppy died. Yeah, because the puppy died. You notice this next time when you watch. You notice this. The puppy actually dragged herself towards John Wick with the blood on the floor and then passed away.
you have made it more traumatizing to me, you
No, that's what I'm saying. That's when people, like the villains say, right? Vigo and his son say it's just a effing car, it's just an effing dog. He said it's not just an effing dog. It was a semblance of hope. It was a semblance of life given to me by my wife, and your son took that from me, stole that from me, killed that from me,
Yeah.
and now I'm going to kill them all. So when he says that, I'm sure people would have, like, I was very happy when he said that, because it's like the puppy is innocent and you avenge the puppy. Well, it's as simple as that. And again, I'm repeating myself, when he was killing the son, he just came, and the son is like screaming, please relax, it was just an effing. Before he could say just an effing dog, he just put a bullet on in his head. He just came, put a bullet, and went. So that was very satisfying, when you get the glimpse of the first scene, and then you get this. Okay, fine, he actually did something. Like, he actually did what he said. And it's actually very satisfying also to watch. Like, you get that gratification that, yes, that should have been the Like that should have been justice. So in his own words, yes, there is it morally ambiguous? Yes, it is. But does it provide the satisfaction or the gratification to the character? Yes, it does, because the character comes from a very, very dark world. Even the police, the cops, they also try to maintain distance from him, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's completely justifiable from John Wick's point of view. And from any dog lover, like from a comical standpoint also, like once you get a dog, it's like it's more or less realistic. Like I will not go and shoot people, but I will definitely, I am willing to pick up a fight with anyone who you, so much as well points a finger at my puppies, right? He just took it to the extreme because he is John Wick and that's a movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we love the character. So now I get a question like, if we remove the story of chapter one, so would all this action and the character stick?
Hmm.
Does will that work out?
No, but chapter one is the foundation, right? I mean, chapter
Yeah,
two, chapter
that's what
three.
I'm like. Let's assume that chapter one is not there. So without having this emotional high stakes, would that still, like, it's a good story, still it's a good story, it's an assassin and trying to, let's say there is just a what do you say, they just want to kill him, the organization just wanted to kill him, he's retired, he's like, liability, he could flip, so let's just kill him. So would that be a good action movie still?
Yes, if they retain the action elements as they have retained now, I think it would have been a good action movie, because then it would have gotten in the entertainment aspect, they would have gotten in the special effects, right? And if the movie directly starts with chapter 2, now chapter 2 also, they introduced something called, if you remember this, they introduced something called as the marker, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
It's a round thing where uh, the one who's asking for a favor stains, like puts his finger thumbprint and gives that uh, kind of a emblem or something to the person he's asked favor, that okay, I owe you big time. So even if that was the beginning of the movie, okay, and after that people are after him to kill him, after John Wick to kill him, even that would have worked. But yeah, I don't think he would have been loved as much as John Wick right now is, because then it would have been like any other action movie. People would have watched it, they would have enjoyed it, and they would have said, "Ha, theek hai, it's a good movie." But in my opinion, I don't think it would have become
Great
like
movie.
a cult classic. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. It has all the intriguing aspects. So when we get into the world more, like that, when he goes
yeah,
into the
you just
Continental,
can't.
yeah.
Yeah, you just can't kill a hitman's puppy. You just can't. You just
Yeah,
cannot.
it would have still stayed as a good action movie, I feel, without chapter one, because the world building or the world setting is humongous, right?
Great.
So
Yeah.
Continental, how they work, the council, high council, and all this the coins and the markers you said. So everything kind of gives that mysterious aspects, and we have spin-offs now. So I think we just got the Continental series, and it had some good
Oh,
reviews. Yeah, I
where
think,
is it?
I'm not sure, it is not released in any of the popular OTTs, so it is available
Oh,
in some networks. So that's the reason I didn't get my eyes on. So, and also there is one more movie coming from the John Wick world. So it's not Keanu Reeves, but
yeah.
somebody.
Yeah, but if there is no John Wick in that movie, I don't want to watch
But
it.
I'm like, there are majority of group within the John Wick's audience that they are still intrigued about the world and they want to know the more about the world. So that's how this Continental series and the spin-offs are coming. So to reflect your opinion, I would also agree. It would have stayed a good movie, but to become, as you said, cult classic or one of the greatest action movies ever made. So that was validated because of the emotional high stakes chapter one.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, because in chapter 2, like in chapter 2 there is a dialogue
Hmm.
wherein the manager of Continental New York, he says that so the person Santiano who gave John Wick the marker, he actually, after the marker has been honored, John Wick is free now.
Hmm.
He tries to kill John Wick to tighten up the loose ends, but of course his people fail because John Wick is John Wick. He's that good,
Hmm.
and he's always prepared. So he sets an open contract. Uh, so now every killer in New York is after John Wick.
Hmm.
That's the premise of chapter 2.
Hmm.
So there's a dialogue that between Santiago and what's the character's name? The manager of Continental New York.
Hmm.
What's his name? I'm forgetting. So he says that Santiago says that I did not force him to come. Uh, I did not reach out to him when he was retired. He had come back. So the manager says that. Manager says that earlier he came for love. Now he is. You made him come back for blood, or something in those lines. So, and now that you made, like, you forced him to come back to this life, he did your job, and then you tried to kill him, and you failed. And plus, he is free right now, free of your obligation right now. What will he do to you? You think that now? So I think the first movie is important because it is that main element that humanizes John Wick. Otherwise, there would not be any difference between, between John Wick, a cool, a very cool hitman, and other hitmen, or other assassins. He is cooler. That's it. That would be the only difference. But we don't get a chance to, like, the see the human form of it, right? And I think there is a, not study, sorry, there's an article and there is a video of in some channel that says that John Wick as a character, just because of the first chapter, John Wick as the character is the ultimate example of the ultimate sigma, like ultimate sigma man or a sigma person.
Okay.
And he just so that video just lists down A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H qualities, and John Wick the character has all those qualities kind of integrated in him. So those that character building, I don't think would have been possible if the first chapter wouldn't exist.
Yeah. So rightly said. Uh. Yeah, I think we got too serious. Let's take a breeze now. So, the fun activities section. So, it's a very what do you say, jovial question. So, imagine you are the directress, and I am the director. I will also answer this question because I love this question. So, you are the writer and directress of this John Wick franchise now. So, you are creating chapter one, and I know you're a dog person and you have kids, the dogs. So, except dogs, if you were to give a pet, it could be any being, right? So it could be an animal or a bird or lizard, so any category. So when you're writing John Wick chapter one, so for your character John Wick, your version, which pet would you give?
Hmm, I think the young ones of any animal is cute, and if they are killed, it will invoke the same rage compared to
Obviously, it
that of.
work out. So it's not the puppy factor, right?
But
Yeah.
yeah, but if I had to kind of looking at the world, uh, looking at the world that he is in, Other than dogs, I think a horse, uh, the young one of a horse.
Horse, okay, but it can't be inside home, right?
No, the younger one of a horse,
Okay,
uh,
yeah, continue,
like a
continue.
yeah, the baby horse of fuel, like a colt or a mare, like a baby horse, a filly,
Hmm.
the baby, baby horse, because horses have been used a lot in the movies also. And see, you can't have a calf in a John Wick setting, like John Wick world setting. You can have a dog, because if you train the dog becomes like a killer dog, a guard dog. And horses are also used in the movie. They are great at combat, not combat, they are great at defending their masters. In fact, there is a scene in chapter 3 that John Wick actually slaps the back of a horse, and the horse kicks the antagonist, like not the antagonist, the fighter who's trying to attack. And then John Wick rides on a horse, and while riding on the horse he fights. So that's why maybe a younger one of a horse, I mean, like a mare or something.
Okay, it's my turn. So, Sharmila's choice is horse. I am a
Younger one
huge,
of
yeah,
a horse.
okay. I
Youngling of a horse.
guess. Let me look it up. What's called? It's called Foal. I don't know. I'm hearing it for the first time. I hope I
Mare,
pronounced
it's a mare.
Foal. Foal. So
Okay.
okay. My choice would be pig. I think what it's called. Pig. Young
Okay.
pig called as piglet. Yeah, piglet. So that's because I am a huge Homer fan, and Homer and pig combination is a huge hit in the American families. So yeah, I would go for pig. So pigs will be so
Okay.
cute. Okay, that's my chance. Okay. Again, the usual fun activity we do. So you have watched all the chapters, and you
Yeah.
like it, you love it, and you went another league, what do you say, exploring, researching about it, on came to a podcast and talking about it. Now, for people who haven't watched, like, or what do you say, yeah, people who haven't watched, who are planning to watch John Wick, make sure they don't watch it. So uh, unpromoted.
Unpromoted. Okay. uh Okay, so people who are not dog lovers shouldn't watch it. People who are dog lovers and extremely, extremely emotional dog lovers, don't watch it because the dog dies.
I
uh,
stopped watching, guys. Then
then there are some people who see, there is seriously a lot of gore in this movie, lot of bloodshed, lot of gore. So some people, they are not okay watching a lot of slashing, a lot of blood, a lot of people getting hit. And when I say people getting hit, they are actually, like, you can see that the protagonist Keanu Reeves is getting hit by a car, moving car. So if that is something, if you are too sensitive about it, don't watch it. And if you want to miss on some good fight scenes, uh, give this movie a miss.
yeah, so it is good. So okay, I think enough of torture. So let's go to the promotions part. So I believe there are a lot of people who haven't watched, because I heard about it after 5 years. 2014 chapter 1 came, so I heard about it only in 2017 or 18. So there would be still people across the world who haven't watched John Wick series. So I'm sure the John Wick chapter 4, when it came out, it made some waves and did some promotions, and because of that, more exposure would have come. But for people who are planning to watch and who hasn't watched, it's like, how do you promote this movie? Like, what is the one convincing, or the convincing factors that people want to watch John Wick?
Well, it has Keanu Reeves. John Wick has like, you cannot put another face to the character of John Wick, uh, other than Keanu Reeves. And Keanu Reeves himself is a great actor, great writing, great. It's, I think it is one of the best example of how you set the world, step by step, part by part. It's a great example of that. And of course, for all the action film or action movie lovers, and all the people who like watching martial arts movies and action movies, this is one of the great example. Like, this movie is one of the great example. This is one of the great example of a Hollywood movie doing an action, or a martial arts plus action sequence correctly. And it has a lot of heart. The first chapter has a lot of heart. uh, the premise is very simple, but it's been showcased as in a very, very smart and intelligent way. So yeah, that the writing is pretty smart and interesting. As I said earlier, they just flipped the entire narrative, and that's the magic of it.
Yeah,
So
I would like to add. So Keanu Reeves is one of the most respected celebrities, I would say, not just an actor. So he's very humble and he's a very good human being, and people like him a lot. So he's one of the finest actors. He has done performance-oriented roles as well. So, but he's more famous for action. So the Matrix hero. So Matrix, probably, I'm sure it's like Titanic, world popular. So the guy who acted in Matrix has acted in John Wick, and after this series, probably people remember him as John Wick rather than Keanu Reeves, right?
oh
So,
yes, oh yeah.
how important was this franchise? Because for Matrix, the latest movie, he had to what do you say, change his hairstyle, but because he was doing a John Wick series, they kind of adjusted the storyline there in such a way that they allowed him to have this hairstyle, John Wick hairstyle in Matrix relation. So it's a very important character, not just in this movie, but in the entire history of cinema. And as I said earlier, Hollywood is standard for many industries, and because of that, a lot of industries has taken inspiration and now competing with Hollywood. But if there is a standard for Hollywood action movies, then it's John Wick right now, I think, in the modern
Yes,
era.
yes,
So
yes. And
yeah.
as someone in the comments rightly said, John Wick is the ultimate puppy punisher. So
Yeah.
if you want to see people who hurt puppies getting punished, better watch John Wick.
He's
You'll be satisfied to the core.
he's the avenger of puppies. So definitely,
Yes.
yeah, do give it a chance, because I'm sure if you start watching chapter one, you'll your heart will be broken. But give it time, like watch it 5 or 10 more minutes. I'm sure, because I stopped watching. I didn't watch it for 2 3 years. I just thought it's an action movie and I started watching. And when the scene came, I kind of switched off the TV and I was like heartbroken. And probably I didn't think about it. Then people told me that it's all about the puppy's revenge, so you should watch it. If you are heartbroken, then you have to watch it. So then I went back and watched the movie, and I like fell in love with John Wick, and I went on to watch all the movies, and I even made a short film inspired by John Wick. So it's a very good series, not just action. So the action began because of this emotional high stake that we were talking about. So it's all about the puppy. Do watch it. So do you remember the puppy's name?
Daisy.
Daisy.
Daisy, and then he adopted a pit bull,
Yeah.
and he didn't give the pit bull any name.
Okay, you are a true John Wick fan.
No, I'm right now. Before, like yesterday, I watched chapter one.
Huh,
Yesterday or Thursday, I watched chapter one, and today, right now, before the podcast, I was watching chapter two.
huh.
And I think in the fourth chapter, um, I think Mr. Nobody has also has a dog.
Okay.
I don't remember his name,
Okay.
but that dog also is very cute.
Yeah. We are not sure whether chapter 5 is gonna. I'm in. So I'm part of this Discord server. So as soon as I came to Discord, I found out a server that that is specific for John Wick fans. Okay, and they share all the information related to John Wick there. So there's still some speculation that Chapter 5 is gonna come, and only through that Discord server I came to know about this Continental series and all the latest news. So they are not putting it aside. So both the director and Keanu Reeves, I think they have told that right now we don't have anything. It's completed. The ending is so wholesome, right? So beyond that, you cannot think of a story.
We don't, yeah, but we don't know what, like, like, is he actually, like, is he actually, like, gone or somewhat gone? Because so since chapter 2, all he wanted to do was get out, right? And the way it ended was the perfect way of him getting out.
Yeah. So when they were putting up messages in the server, like everyone was talking about chapter 5. So once the chapter 4 came out and it was so satisfying, everybody was like, when will they make chapter 5? When is going to return? So one of the points that I made, like I remember I was drafting that message for like half an hour and then I sent, the storyline, if you see, it's linear, right? So far from 1 to 4 we see it as linear. The whole you can like say confidently that chapter 1 to 4 is a whole movie in itself, right? His puppy
Yes,
was killed and he took revenge for that, so it's a sequence chain of events that happen one after another.
yes,
So
yes.
now the
And all
four,
in less than a week's time, like between 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and all like less than a
yeah,
week's. Like
yeah,
every movie is less than a week.
it's like a
Yes.
sequence. And the point, if they're trying to make it or stretch it in this linear timeline, I don't think it's going to work out, no matter how much you give the action element or the minor elements like
Yes.
GunFu, or it's not going to work out. So people will get tired. Already we saw 4 chapters. The only way they can make it interesting is show who was John Wick before, or like when he was in the occupation, like when he was the assassin. So I
I
would like to I would love to watch him as John Wick. So prequel. The prequel story would work out.
Yeah, so I think, see how chapter 4 ended is Donnie Yen, right? He goes to Paris and he is like looking at his daughter, and then suddenly he's approached by an assassin having
Hmm.
a knife, right?
Hmm.
If I remember correctly, it
Yeah.
is Osaka Continental's daughter,
Yeah, yeah,
because
correct.
Donnie
Yeah. Yeah.
is kills his father, right? Because and Donnie says that when you are ready
Hmm.
for me, when you're ready to fight me, when you're then I'll be ready. So that lady is seen approaching Donnie Yen,
Hmm.
while Donnie Yen is looking at his daughter or thinking of kind of going and talking to the daughter. So I think if that's the post credit scene, so I think that if a sequel has to come, it has to be with Donnie, something to do with Donnie and as the central character, and maybe in flashes like flashbacks or some like guest appearance, John Wick will come,
Oh yeah,
like something
that's
like
another
that.
way. Correct. I didn't think about it. So yeah, I think you cannot put him as protagonist in a linear timeline going forward. So it has to be
Yes,
like the
because it's the
Flash.
perfect end. No, like this also it makes sense.
Hmm.
Like he's dead, so it makes sense that
Hmm.
he's dead.
Hmm.
uh, like that also it makes sense, and he faked his death to get out of this entire organized crime. Once again he faked his own death.
Hmm.
So that also, either way, it works perfectly well for him, for the character. So I don't think they will again reopen uh, that
Yeah.
chapter.
But as a fan, huge fan of John Wick character, I actually want to see him. Like when, like imagine it's like now, what do you say? I'm a fan of Rajnikant. He's like 70 plus years old. But when he was like 40s or 30s, he was at the peak. So I didn't was like I would have not even born, I guess. So that kind of fanboy moment I had with John Wick. So I wanted to see how John Wick was in the profession when he's taking out assassins. So I would love to explore that if I'm a filmmaker and if I'm the director. So the prequels is what I would be interested.
Yeah, but in the prequel they have to have a younger character, no?
Now
But
we have technologies, right? De-aging. So I don't think that would be an issue. So
Okay.
writing again, it has to be a good writing. So there has to be a emotional high stake or different technique there. Writing has to come into picture. So writing, without writing, nothing can be achieved, I guess.
Yeah, but I think that these four parts, right, from a John Wick standpoint, not the John Wick world, but from a John Wick standpoint, it's the perfect journey. I don't think they should move ahead or go back. We know that whatever, like there's a line, right, that whatever stories that you have heard, trust me, they are all watered down, if nothing else.
But
So
the yeah, yeah, yeah.
that mystery is something, like, that mystery is a good to have mystery.
But my
And
question was, don't you want to see that fight where he killed three people with a pencil?
they showed know how he killed three people with a pencil.
So that
They
is just
showed
a
it.
glimpse.
they
So
they kind of replicated it. So in chapter 2, right, when so many killers are after him,
yeah.
he is fighting in the station, and then he has a pencil and he kills two people with a pencil. So that's how that's how we get to know that, okay, he killed people. That this is how he kills people with pencil. In
Yeah.
fact, in chapter 4, Donnie Yen also does the same thing when, like, there's a sequence where he's like, some guy, he's like, you have a, what do you say, you have a job to do, you can't kill me. So he's like, but I can hurt you. Then he just pulls up a pencil and just stabs him. So,
Yeah, I
so
mean, talking about all this stuff, I want to go back and watch all the movies.
I am watching it right now, and I finished chapter 2 today, and then tomorrow and day after I'll watch chapter 3 and 4.
Yeah, so that was a great podcast. So how does it feel to come back? I mean, come three times and talk about your favorite movies.
Honestly, I think it started off, the first podcast was very, very serious. It was very serious, and again, the movie really moved me. That's why I wanted to talk about it. Second podcast was, it was a fun podcast
Yeah.
to have. Like, it was a fun podcast to be a part of. This podcast, I felt that the topic was very interesting and very rare movies. Like, I didn't even think of John Wick in the movie in this way until and unless I came across my reading, and I did my reading, and I did realize, oh yeah, this is something that is very interesting, and I would love to be a part of the discussion on this. And yeah, this, out of the three, I think this is my favorite topic. And yeah, I can, if it's dogs and if it's dogs in a movie, and if it's John Wick, I can ramble all day long.
Yeah, so I like it was not a serious topic episode one because especially I being the anchor and I have already done solo talk shows, so that's the norm here. So in my if you go back and look at my all my solo talk shows, well, most of the movies that I would have talked about would have been in this suspense, thriller, or horror genre. So I watch more such kind of genre, like rare. I think probably I would have not talked about any comedy movies. So that was the exception. So the second episode was the exception, I guess. Uh, yeah, action, horror, thriller is my genre. So I think you were on track. So I always make sure unique and the movies that people are not heard of. So Speak No Evil was exactly like that. So yeah, do come back for the podcast with such unique movies and topics. You are actually helping us better the podcast series. Uh,
Always, it's great to be back every time.
okay.
And I will I will uh, I will continue to look out for more interesting topics and more interesting movies like John Wick 3 and Speak No Evil.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode listening to our latest podcast. Thank you once again, Castella Daniel Garcia. So I hope I pronounced your name rightly. I'm curious you're from which country. So I've had subscribers from London, what is it, US and Australia. So I'm curious which country you are. Please do comment if you listen to me. Thank you so much. John Wick is the puppy punisher. Good revenge film, old boy. Thanks for dropping the comments. And yes, I am signing off with Sharmila. So I'll catch you in another live stream video or podcast. Until then, you are listening to MWM. I'm Maddie Dawson. Bye bye.
Bye.